Welcome to our LightBringers conversation with Jesse Jonas today, February 15th, 2021. Our special guest, Jesse, will share his journey to divine love with us. I'm Lorraine Borchers from Bend, Oregon, which is on the west coast of the United States. And with me are two friends.
Hi, everybody. I'm Yvonne, and I'm from Central Pennsylvania, and I'm so happy to be here to hear Jesse's story.
And I'm Beth Bladen, and I come from Lincolnshire in the UK, which is on the east side of the country. And I equally am very pleased to be here and looking forward to Jesse's story. But before we start, shall we have a prayer?
Let's do that, please.
Heavenly Father, we know you're always with us and are waiting for your children to reach out to you. Thank you for bringing us together. Bless Jesse as he shares his faith journey with us. And may whatever we do today, Lord, be to your glory. We love you, dear Father. Amen.
Thank you, Beth. Well, I'm delighted that you're here and I'm looking forward to your story, Jesse. So whenever you're ready, please start. What we do after you've had a chance to share is we like to have a conversation with you to clarify things, to ask questions. So looking forward to hearing your story.
Well, thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here with you today and to share this story that is mine, and everybody's is going to be unique in how they have come to find God's love. God, I like to think, has more tools available than souls out there. So he's got a kit for each person, and the way that we're gonna be reached is going to be unique to who we are, what our upbringing was, and I thank you for giving me this time to tell you a little bit about my story. So we'll go way back to young baby Jesse, and this is largely going to be a story of 2016 on, but a little bit of background I think will help the viewers kind of understand what environment I was brought up in. So I had a very loving environment, mother and father who cared very much, worked hard, provided, gave ample love. I'm the youngest of three boys. So my two older brothers, were a big part of my upbringing as well. And we were not what you would call a religious family. So my parents, when they were young, went to church, as many did back in their days, but it wasn't something that drew at them very hard. So when they became parents themselves, that just wasn't a part of what they wanted to do. So there was no church growing up for me. But what I would say is I was always a very, very spiritually connected child. I was connected to nature. I was connected to the stars and the skies. I got lost a lot of times looking up at them. It was something I've done my whole life. To this day, I feel like I'm a part of that. And to say that is kind of weird in a material world, where we're down here grounded, but kind of like the butterfly exists in the caterpillar, right? That's something always destined to be. Yet not there quite yet. So that's kind of what I feel. I feel like at some point in time, the density will move on, and the spirit will be free to be a part of a lot more than the ground dwelling. So that's been me and my connection, my upbringing. There's always been a feeling of soul, but not an understanding of it. That all the religions out there were something I felt I should find the right one. And as a young person, without any parents telling you what to do or where to, I would go to church with different friends and different kinds of churches. I wanted to be a part of that. And as I would go to the different churches, as I would see the different ways religion was expressed, was taught, there was a feeling of, parts of this are right, that parts of this are I'm being drawn to, I'm being connected to, but then there was other parts of it that were off-putting. I could see to some degree a lack of engagement in the parishioners. Some were very engaged, some were not very engaged, some were doing their grocery list, and some had their hands up in the air. And I noticed this distinct difference. And I was feeling that internally too. There was parts that I wanted to throw my hands in the air, and then there was parts I wanted to sit down and say, no, I don't feel that. So it was hard to feel God, to want to talk to God, and to feel like I needed to find the right religion, and I never could. So this upbringing in me was this polarization of wanting to be with God, but not knowing how, when so much of the options didn't feel right. Challenging indeed. So this takes me on through my life, very emotionally connected to the energies of people. You would consider somebody, like myself, to be an empath. So I feel the energies of others very, very closely. In rooms, I can feel dark energies. I can feel light energies. I can feel some guidance through that. And it took a while again on that to understand what these emotions were, because sometimes the energies would be so dark, it would almost feel like I was going to black out, pass out, like blood pressure dropping. So took a while to understand what that was, and how it was a part of who I am, and feeling guidance and all of that. So as a young child, I remember the one time we took a vacation, like far away, we went to Mexico. The poverty there, as a kid of 8 years old at the time, it drew at me so hard, it was almost suffocating. And any kind of money my parents had in my pockets, I was giving it out, because there was always a hand. No matter where you went, there was hands out. And if they could walk, they were taught to go out with their hands. And I remember that, and it stuck with me, because that didn't feel like God's creation. That didn't feel like God's plan, that so many would be without. And I remember that as a young age. So my connection and my draw to the hurt and the suffering, it's been there all my life. And I've always wanted to be a part of a change. Feeling kind of insignificant, that how can one person make a change? But this is all, I guess, a lead up to the journey. This is who I was. This is what was inside of me. This was what God blessed my soul to be. And I'm grateful for this connection, even though parts of it hurt at times, because it helped me, I think, see some things that down the road, maybe others might have missed. So this is going to accelerate us into the year, really 2014. We're going to start this. In 2014, Christmas time, my father lets me know that one of our good friends had passed away. Him and my dad had coached baseball all the way up through our upbringing and all the ball clubs that I'd played with. And his daughter actually played baseball with us too, and she was a phenomenal athlete. She actually played high school baseball on a very good high school program. So we were very close, me and her, growing up. And then, of course, my dad and his friend Gary. So he lets me know at Christmas time that there was a sudden passing of Gary. That he went in for a routine operation, and something went wrong, and next thing you know, he was on life support, and they were able to keep him. The machines were keeping him alive, but he was able to speak to his family one last time. Had time for them to all come in, and his last words. And I remember we're not the Christian family quite just yet, but Gary very much was, and his last words to his family were he was ready to go home to Jesus, so he was okay with it, and that really helped them. So in a very compassionate move of strength, he He'd let them know it'd be okay. He'd be okay. Everything would be fine. So that's December 2014. December 2015, Dad, had always been friends with his wife as well. They've been grown up together and raised their kids together for decades. And she had mentioned to him that she didn't really feel Gary, and she was upset by that. She wished she could get a sign, whether it be a dream or just a response to her thoughts or prayers. She just hadn't felt that. So my dad, he's compassionate too, and he, decided. So December 15, he's talking to Gary. He's not quite yet there talking to God. That's, he's not that kind of praying type yet. But he's speaking out to Gary. Says, Gary, she really needs a sign. If you can, if you're able, if there's a way, give her a sign that you're okay. And Dad, that's it. That's what he does. And then he, moves on with his day. And he finds himself taking pictures. Dad loves to take pictures. And he's got his little digital camera. So he's taking pictures inside of his Christmas decorations. And starts taking snapshots of everything inside, including the manger scene. And this is a manger scene that's been around for a long time. While we weren't, go to church on Sunday religious, we did have the manger scene. We did have the things you typically associate with Christmas, were a part of our decorations. So I'm going to share screen here in a little bit and kind of walk you through what transpired in these pictures. And if technology allows, you will be seeing my screen right now. And I'm going to assume that you see the screen in presentation mode, thumbs up. Okay. So here's a picture of what the manger scene looks like from the inside. I'll cursor it for you. This is where your focus is going to be inside this scene. And it's interesting, as we've come to know through the Pageant Messages, which have been defined in other divine love conversations, but messages that Jesus brought through in the 2014s on for about 8 years. The manger scene was something that really happened. So I didn't know this at the time. This is 2015, and I have not found divine love yet. But this gives a context of what we're looking at. Here's another look at it from another angle. In particular, you're going to be looking at this area over in here. So right now, there's nothing that makes up a face. There's really nothing that should create an image associated with well-defined features, or at least I'll say well-defined features. This is what it looks like at night. This picture was taken afterwards to try and put some context to what we ended up seeing. And again, this picture would take Dad 2 months to come to me, and this isn't it yet. This is just what it looks like. That's the negative. I'm going to go back. That's what it should look like. That's the negative. And as you look over in here, you kind of see eyes, nose, mustache, beard, the hair coming down. So we've looked at this for a long time. And as you kind of go back and forth on these, the image starts to get a little bit clearer, at least in my experience it has. So again, this is what should be in that area. And this is what comes through. Something that would happen about 6 months later. So this was at the end of 2015. And when Dad saw this picture, it took him over 2 months to come talk to me about it. This is a guy who saw a lot of different signs, which is a whole nother conversation. Those signs never would crack his mentality of going to the spiritual or thinking spiritual. So it took a lot. When he kind of saw this right out of the gate, it dropped him to his knees, and it led him on a path. Now, my path and his are quite different. He went down the Christianity and the Bible path, thinking that this was Gary's last words were, "I want to go home to Jesus." This is what Dad has called Gary's tree. He put that tree up in honor of Gary as a vigil for Gary. And right below it is Jesus coming out in shadows. When you look at the image, when you look at how light is being played, we've had a lot of time to look at this, and it doesn't make sense. Light is where dark should be. Dark is where light should be. And it's just come out to make this image. But about 6 months later, something would stick out to this that Dad nor I had seen. And this is all along a journey that will continue on, that has led me to this. This is also a silhouette of a face. There's the back of the skull. There's the neck. It's leaning up against Jesus. This is me. And when I saw this 6 months later, it absolutely dropped my jaw. I was looking at this in work. I guess I didn't see it before because it wasn't time to see it. But this picture led Dad one way and it led me another. And this all predates me finding divine love. But I've looked at my bullet head, my bullet skull many times thinking, oh man, why did I get stuck with this draw? I've seen this chin, and even I can tell the hair when I zoomed in, and I have analyzed and overanalyzed this. I'm an engineer, by the way, so that's what I do. This is an image of me probably in my 20s, somewhere in there. It's a few years ago. But it just, once Dad saw it, once Mom saw it, they're like, oh my goodness, yes, that is, we've seen that image of you, that is you. So you can't see any facial feature, it's just a light image, but this was part for me too, even though it was Dad's picture. And again, that's the zoom in. So we'll get to that next one here in a little bit. So that's 2016. So that's Dad's picture. That's Dad's oh my goodness moment. And then after that, I'm sitting here with a real conundrum because I still don't believe in all the words in the Bible. I don't believe things happen the way they happened. I have this real issue, but now I've got this even deeper commitment to be a part of God, to be a part of something, and we're being called, we're being drawn. There's no question. And another thing with the pictures like this, sometimes people don't see it, and in a lot of cases they don't. And for those listening that have unique experiences on their journeys that maybe others can't see or understand, that's where I say that God's got a toolkit for each individual person. And some things are for your eyes only. Some things are for your coming to only. And it's not necessarily that other people can't see it. That's not part of their journey. So we each have this uniqueness, and we don't need to battle, fight, and claw for others to believe us. We just need to believe in what God is communicating to us. And in that is the peace. That's the humbleness. That's being able to be internally grateful on this one commitment, this one the reach out from God to us, so that when we talk to others, it's not for us to make them believe in our story. It's for us to share all the unique ways that he's reaching out so that they can have a little bit more validity in theirs, and not so much a concern that everybody else believes it or understands it or can even see it. So I just share that point there because that's our story. That's our journey. And so now we find ourselves in 2016, and I'm more connected to spiritual than ever. And I find myself reading books, and that's a very comical thing if you know me, because Jesse doesn't read books. That's what everybody knows, and has always been. Jesse, he can't sit down 5 seconds to read a book. That's not part of it. But here I am reading these books. I'm drawn into afterlife, near-death experiences, the spiritual connections, mediumship, psychics, all of these things. And I can feel, some things are a pull to I believe in, some things are, no, I don't so much feel the love in that. And that's what I've learned to trust is when you feel something, go with it. if you're thinking it's right or wrong, that gets more challenging. If you feel there's some truth to it or something missing, that may be a little bit stronger indication from a knowing inside you that goes a little deeper than the mind. So I'm reading these books on near-death experiences and finding, a lot of connection with belief in the afterlife experience that they're telling about. And I get into this one book on automatic writing. So this really draws me in, and I feel a deep connection with this. And this automatic writing is a doctor passed away, and an associate doctor starts receiving some messages, and these messages, she didn't even realize her friend and colleague had passed away. So once she gets a couple of messages, she had to confer, because she was all the way across the world, that in fact he had passed away, and he had. So I'm drawn into this, and it's very interesting. About the time I finished the book, Dad says, "You're not going to believe this." Again, we're still in 2016. He goes, I just got something from my sister, his sister, my aunt. And I'm going to share that now again. And we'll go into this. So same year. So here is Jesus in the manger scene, and here's Jesse being super uber connected now, trying to figure out the way. And then this comes in. So this is a letter that was written. This transcription I show you right here in 1995 up at the upper right. That's when it was taken from German to English. This was actually a letter written by my great-grandfather beyond the grave, automatic writing, to his grieving wife. Something that was written in 1957, November of 1957. Sat in this German writing, untranslated, until 1995 by my aunt. My aunt's friend translated it. Yet she wouldn't share it with her brothers and sisters all the way up until 2016, an automatic writing by a family member of mine, right after I finished reading a book on automatic writing, right after we saw a picture of Jesus, right after this journey of amazement had begun, and this thing in my soul that I've been looking to find the answer to was starting to come to light a little bit. And the timing is so perfect that you couldn't have closed the book that Dad's calling and saying, "We've got this letter and I need to show it to you." And he didn't know I was reading a book on automatic writing. So in 1995, my aunt got it translated and felt the need to keep it. They're not a very spiritual family. And they decided, whatever, this isn't something. So that was the German writing. I'm going to highlight a few lines in it. There's 2 letters. It's very fascinating, and I'll read them out. I've taken this and put it into the computer so it does, if there's fire or something, we don't lose it forever. But just a few lines in here. It gives me great pleasure to bring this to you as it is here in the spiritual heaven. Since it's my birthday, I want to give you this as a gift from me to you. Moving on, you cannot imagine how many people are lost because they do not understand what is being done or has to be done. Skipping down, many who are lost and are lying there because they did not believe that there is life after death. They weep and wail, hoping to enter the light. I've already helped many of them. I found out what hell is, and it is no pleasant picture. It is not fire, as the churches tell the people, but a place in darkness where people cannot see each other. However, they can be delivered with the help of the high spiritual teacher who is in the light as I am, and others are who also help a lot. Dear wife, I would not be able to do this if it had not been for the help, how much you'd help me and are still helping me and the souls of others who need help. Be thankful that you can do this. I highlight those parts because that's what we're doing here. We've been shown this. We've been guided to this. And it's the help that we're telling our story so that others can can feel what they felt in their souls is a real thing, that they're not alone, and that others are being drawn and brought to this, because we believe that many, many more will. And the more we can help just share this truth, just speak this truth, can be all the difference between, time spent in a darker condition versus believing and seeing and knowing that there's a place of light that they can be in when they transition. Second letter, I will share a blurb from as well. It says, you ask how this way has to be learned by the people, how much they can learn from God's way and also the spiritual way. And then one must learn how God's way, the spiritual way, and the earthly way work together and take the good from each. It is exactly as the little bee that knows which flower to visit in order to get the best honey. This is as with God's way. It is not enough to read and listen. We must also live it. Through the spiritual, man may obtain help and information, but the people who do not act accordingly, and much good slides by, and they do not have any benefit. The people love the earthly things because they think it is easier this way. They do not know that it is harder to do. And if they would wish only the earthly things, then they cannot complain if not everything does work out too well. But to take all three together, the godly, the spiritual, and the earthly, gives a man the good that he can use in his life and is better for everybody. Here is where we find reason for so much unrest in the world. But the time will come when everything is harmonious. However, it will take time. Confidence must not be abandoned, and God is good. He will no doubt help, as he has always done, and will do forever and ever into all eternity. So that is a very beautiful message. There was a lot more written in there. There was a lot more personal to his wife, talking about the family. But this message that we've been hearing about change coming, about a balance being regained, about new times and brighter days ahead. This was written in 1957 by my great-grandfather in a message that I would have no clue I would be reading real day accounts from angels and our spiritual help to say essentially the same thing. So this journey and this path and the timing of things, I can only say is godly. It's hard to say that in 1957 a letter would come on automatic writing the day I closed my first book on automatic writing, but it did. And this journey is unmistakable, and this path is beautiful. And to be able to look back and account on this is my soul awakening. It's so joyous. So shortly after I would read this automatic letter written by a family member, a friend of ours would end up I'm not going to get into too many details, end up incarcerated. Somebody we loved very dearly and was, in our opinion, unjustly sent there, and ultimately through appeals would be freed. But in the time that he was there, it was a very challenging place for him to be. It was, very concerning for his safety and all kinds of things. So I started writing him. We just decided as a family, hey, letters are gold there, just people connecting and reaching out. So he's my dad's age friend, but through years of being close together as friends and family, I wanted to write too. So I started writing him just what my day was, what my week was. I was going to write him a weekly letter about how my week was going. He could stay current on everything going on. And I only got one of those letters sent to him. And then what I've come to learn, inspiration, called for something more. And this feeling inside me that was so unique from the current religious messages, the current religious canons, the documents, I started writing to him letters on what I called From the Stump of Jesse, which is a biblical reference, a manifesto on eternity. So here I am writing to him what I believe to be truth. And so here comes my soul on paper that has never been done before. And I was just going to write him letters about how my day went. Well, as I'm doing this, we ended up writing chapters, and it ended up being kind of book formatish. And as I read back on those things now, these all predate me finding the Pageant Messages and the first messages from Jesus. And it is so uncanny how I was being inspired in ways that I would later find to be very similar, with the biggest exception being I had a strong belief in reincarnation in these letters. So that's the one thing that differs from what I would come to find out. But that's to say now I have a better understanding of what that was and what that is. And it's not so very different. It's kind of similar. But as I was Google searching, I got into this. I remember this one day I was standing outside. It's August of 2016, and all of a sudden there's a term called knowing, and I didn't know that term beforehand. The most amazing thing is happening to me as I'm standing outside. All of a sudden I start questioning Bible passages. I haven't read the Bible. I tried many times throughout my life, and I could just never get into continuing. But there's a lot of the bigger ones are well known, worn on shirts, and so all of a sudden I am out there in nature, and I am having this deep conflict about certain passages, and I'm saying John didn't say that. That's not what John meant. That's not what Paul said. That's not how that. And I'm telling my wife, and she's like, why are you telling me this? We're not church people. And I'm explaining that I don't know why, but this is compelling. So then I did start reading the Bible, and I'm flipping through the pages, and I'm going through it, and I'm saying this wasn't said. That's not how this happened. I almost felt like I was vindicating somebody, and it was really, really, really weird, and it was kind of maddening for a little while. Why me? And my wife was saying, why you? Why do you think you're being told this or shown this? I said, I don't know. But this was all part that would go into the letters that I would be sent. As I'm writing these letters, this new information is coming, and then the Bible started becoming part of the letters. And it's like, this wasn't how that went. This was, and I was almost like justifying parts of it. And that was really, really silly for me. But I felt it very true. And as we continue on in these letters, I decided to search, why didn't Andrew have a chapter in the Bible? Why didn't he have a book? And as I did that, up comes one of the many websites available out there where the Pageant Messages have been uploaded. And it didn't pull right away. It just pulled a section on Andrew, and it just said to be updated later. But something told me, where am I at? What is this website? Let me go back to the main page, and I start reading this stuff, that this guy Pageant way back when received these messages and in automatic writing. So now you've got my attention. And I read the first two, and I remember feeling something, but thinking, okay, well, this is a hoot. Somebody's got, messages from Jesus, right? That's okay, whatever. But I thought that they were pretty cool, and they really spoke to the way that I was feeling, had a connection and a pull. And I shared them with my dad, and he went down the 4 Bible studies a week now kind of path, and he's deep into the church and tithing, and that message to him was, go to church. That message for me is, obviously this path has been unveiled, and it was, what you're going to see coming up is real. So as I was reading these messages, after I got past those first 2 in my mindful hesitation, I continued to read, and I continued to find what my soul had been looking for, what was missing in the current messages, clarification. And nothing that I read was anything but love, anything but warmth, and anything but clarification on things that many people struggle with believing to this very day. Those very ingrained in their church and their practice. A lot of them have in their minds, you know, some thoughts about what they're being taught and, you know, what their marching orders are. So this really resonated very well with me. I continued to read, I continued to feel my soul emerge as I went letter by letter. And this part of me that I always had a inkling towards was coming out in a very big way. So I took everything that was a path to lead up to basically saying you're going to get these messages from Jesus, automatic writing, and it's what you've been searching for. So as you read it, you'll feel something, and I did. From there, I would shortly thereafter be led to Gene and Al, because when I was done reading, I contacted the web the web person and said, "Hey, is there more? You know, this ends way back when. Is it? Where can I go?" And then that's how we ended up getting connected. And to this day, I pray for divine love, and it's such a simple thing to do. So it's not complicated. There's no magic potion spell that, you know, anybody's got to do. It's just from your heart and soul, from that center, that, you know, that gut feeling that you've been following your whole life. There's something to that gut feeling, and it's a pull inside you that has a lot of wisdom, a lot of understanding, a lot of knowing that you can draw from. It's a much deeper place than our minds have the ability to access. So when you find yourself in those feelings of almost a magnetic pull, find that place, find that center of your being that is reaching out for something more, and just ask for the love to come in, and it will absolutely. You don't need a college education. You don't need to be a Rhodes Scholar. Every single human being on this planet can access that place, and when that love comes in, it's almost, I liken it to, you know, a Tylenol bottle. You can stare at the Tylenol bottle, but that's not going to make what's inside you that hurts go away. But when you bring that into you, that's when it can happen. That's when the healing can start. And that's what God's love is. It's always been all around us. So everybody that says God's love is available, they're absolutely right. But it's different to know it's there versus bringing it in with your free will, your blessed gift to go any which way you choose. So to bring it into you is a conscious decision that you want to be a part of this brighter light, that you see the world that exists and you want to be a light in it. And that's what this is all about. It's about using your free will to bring this healing power into us. And it's as simple as that. So that's my story. That's my journey to God's great gift. And with that, I will open it up for questions. I think you muted, Lorraine. Yep, you're still muted.
You're still muted.
Yep, there you
Yay!
At last.
Hi.
I don't know why that was so hard. Jesse, that was an awesome story. And oh my gosh, there's so many pieces that I just want to follow up with you on. I love how you said that divine love is not complicated, because we have so much complications and confusion coming to it. But once we get there, it's not complicated. And I like the way you put that. So I want to go back to when you were a child feeling energies.
Mhm.
I know a few children who have gone through that, who are older now, and the adults in their lives didn't understand them. Other children didn't understand their sensitivity. Can you go a little further with that for yourself? And what would you suggest to parents who have very sensitive children?
Well, I do have one, but going back to me, you know, this was just me on an island. Again, not a very religious, spiritual, deep family. So this was just me throughout my life feeling it, not really having anybody to share with or an outlet to kind of grow it, because it is a gift.
Yes,
So
it is.
that's what I would share with people is, don't be afraid of what you don't necessarily understand. You know, if you have a child that is expressing some connection, some energies that you can't see, feel, or touch, that's okay. Embrace them. Let them know, you know, if you have a spirituality to yourself. Obviously, if they don't, then it's going to be, again, a rough road. But if you do have a spirituality, if you do believe that our energies continue on, just realize that God gives gifts to different people. Everybody's got gifts, and we're all part of a big picture, a big puzzle. So embrace that gift. Try to help them realize that it's okay, that there's a lot of people out there with it. You're not alone. You know, I always say, you know, there's more ghost story accounts out there that you shake a stick at. So at some point in time, you know, we got to say that there's something to this. You know, we can't keep ignoring the fact that that we continue on. And that's why I like the butterfly and the caterpillar. You know, inside this earthbound creature is something completely different, yet in time will manifest. So that's the same with us. We continue on after the density of the body. This is part of our journey. It's not the end of our journey. It's really the beginning of our journey. And the connection to these energies, whether you see them or you feel them or they interact with you in other ways, is a gift. And learning how to work with that gift, learning that we do have control over that. That's one thing that I would share. Don't be afraid because you don't understand it. Try and help your child learn how to manage it. Because even in these gifts, you know, there's energies on both sides of the spectrum, and they will try and communicate and work with, you know, whoever can see and feel them. So we're given a lot of control, and your child has control. Let them express their center of confidence, and if they're okay with the energies and the communications, then they can continue with them. And if they're not, let them know that they have control to make them go away, because they absolutely do. And as we talk about divine love, one of the things, when I've had the deepest of negative energies feeling, divine love has been a wonderful tool to connect into my soul, to at that moment, instead of lose, you know, my ground, my bearings. I've blacked out. I have fallen down sometimes from such a negative energy. This has really been a grounding for me. And when those conditions persist, inside this love and this cloak of protection that God will provide any child that asks for it, this is a great tool to protect yourself from these energies. And I've taught this to my daughter. So my youngest daughter has learned, you know, how to pray and how to protect herself, because she has this gift.
Thank you. That was helpful, I'm sure.
I was going to ask if you'd shared your journey with your family. Well, you clearly have, Jessie, and I love the analogy of the butterfly, and I do the dragonfly, the same flying
Yes.
away, and yes, and the spirit being free. But I think the other thing that is important, and you mentioned it about the cloak of protection, because I think there are so many people who actually have this real worry about being beset by dark spirits and being surrounded and are quite frightened. And I think that's something which is really important to stress, that to ask God for a cloak of protection, which will keep you safe and keep people in God's love and away from any other influences.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've often shared my belief that free will is the second most powerful force in all the universe, and divine love is the first. And I say that because we choose everything that comes our way in some way, shape, or form through the law of attraction. You know, sometimes things do come around that others bring, and it's not necessarily our choice, but they become part of the environment, if you will. So that's why I like to express how powerful your free will is. When you come to learn of this ultimate love, this ultimate life, this divine essence of God that's available, what on man's earthly goofball creation could possibly stand against that, whether it's in the spirit or it's in the flesh? So when you're bringing this in, you are bringing the resources of heaven all around you. And there is dark energies, and for some time I think they'll persist and maybe even get a little bit more agitated as light comes, as God's blessings come to this earth, as change comes, as dark can't stand in the way of light in the same place. Light will come and dark will move on, but bring this blessing to you. It's so simple, it's so available, it's God's, and you're so worthy of it. So many people out there have this feeling that they're not worthy of it. You are a child of the most loving Father in all of creation, and that goes before creation. He made you because the world needed you. And this love is there, and you are worthy of it, and you are deserving of it. And he so badly wants you to have this glow, this protection, this cloak. So you do not need to stand alone, and you are never alone.
As your story is so beautiful, and I love the analogy that you gave at the end with inviting God's love in, not just looking at God's love, but inviting it in. But I have to ask you, your father had so many beautiful experiences. I'm just sort of wondering, is he ever closer to the divine love path, or is he still more on a traditional path?
He's on the traditional path. So the most giving, loving, supportive guy, you know, I couldn't have asked for better. And then at the same time, he's extremely mindful. One of the most brilliant minds I've ever seen, the way he could do stuff and work stuff in any job, in any place. That he created things in the backyard. He's like an inventor, just very, very gifted in those ways. But also at the same time, mindful can really be in the tunnel vision of what the world today wants you to do, or you know, you see a sign and you go left with it while somebody else sees a sign and they go right with it, kind of thing. So he's locked in on it being you know you know, believe in the blood of Christ kind of thing, or you're not going to go. Even amidst getting a letter that said, you know, it's not the fire and brimstone the churches say. You know, the letter is even saying that there's errors, that there's inconsistencies. But you know, that's where he's at. You know, I would say that I'm probably in my family the only one who's all in on this. But that's been my journey. My journey has been looking for this, and I would say that others haven't been looking for it. So it's not there yet. But again, to the listeners, our seeking doesn't end in the flesh. As you've heard in those letters, people are delivered to the light all the time from the other side of life, from the spirit. We don't have to get everything just right here. God has not asked us to be perfect. If he needed us to be perfect, he'd make us perfect. We're all on a journey, and we've got a lot of time for it. It's not just the here in the flesh and now. So we will continue to help with love and light in our hearts, in the flesh and in the spirit. That to me is one of the most beautiful reassurances, is that it continues. We continue. Our work continues. And in many ways is made much easier. But this is a part of the journey, an intentional part. And we're all coming to know who we are and what we want to do and who we want to be. And we'll take that forward, when the weight of the flesh is gone.
Yeah.
Very well said. And we are almost out of time, I'm sad to say. It's been a great visit with you, Jesse. Thank you so much.
Thank
I
you
am
for-
curious about your book, From the Stump of Jesse. Where's the book at?
Well, it never got published. I'm by far and away no writer, so it was really letters I just forced into a kind of a book chapter thing at the end. So I'll gladly share it with you, but it's something that is primitive.
Oh, I would like to see it. Yvonne, Beth, any further questions that Jesse could answer fairly quickly?
Well,
I
the
can-
only,
Go
sorry,
ahead.
the
Go.
only question I've got, and I've brought this up before because to me it's so important, but can you just sort of say very briefly, Jesse, joy is part of this path. We're all on different paths, but we've all got this common aim and this connection, wanting to connect and wanting God's divine love. What is it for you? If I say joy, can you quickly give us an idea of what your joy is?
Yeah, joy is a balance for me. So in that letter, you heard the mentioning of it's the godly, the spiritual, and the earthly that all works together, where we find this harmony, and without it we find unrest. Joy for me is being here with my family. It's feeling God's love in my heart and soul. It's walking the path and having a faith, of a true and abiding faith that I'm heading in the direction I want to head in, and I'm not aimlessly on a breeze anymore. I found where I want to be, and in living the love each day, praying for the love. I see myself change. I see the people around me change, and it's probably they're changing in response to me, because I can't make anybody change. But as I become a better light, they become a better light, and you see how one person can make a difference. As you choose to be a brighter light in the world, others around you will glow brighter too. And as each of us do that, as each of us find this way to the brighter light that we're seeking, we can all of a sudden make a change in the world. And that's a beautiful thing to me.
Thank you
What
very
a
much.
beautiful way to end this recording. Thank you so much, Jesse,
Thank you.
Beth, and Yvonne for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, and have a beautiful day.
You as well.
You too. Thank you.
God bless.
Bye.